Thank you, Marty. Avi Meyers, Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine. Presentation of Sonny Hirsch and myself. I want to wish my friend Craig a get well in a hurry. And hopefully by the time this airs, he will be back up to snuff. I'm not a political guy, so that's one you're not going to figure out. Caps24.org. Of course, we got changes in the police department. We have no idea how that one's going to go. We do know people still emphasize community policing. And it'll be interesting to see what happens. In any event, I also want to let people know that Jewish Chicago is coming out. We are going to be greatly expanding our circulation, especially in the north and northwest suburbs. We started doing it last time. There's an expanding Jewish community there. We found more and more businesses where the thing gets grabbed like crazy. And we're going to look to expand within the city also. So, look for it. It'll be free. It'll be available before the start of early voting. And it is a pleasure to have maybe the guy who's my favorite alderman these days. He's the alderman of the 49th Ward. And he's
maybe I'm your favorite alderman?
You are my favorite alderman. Okay. I can't always... Listen, you wanted a limo. I mean, you just went down half a notch. No, you're my... There's no question. So, he's also going to be running on... David Fagus has passed away. He's going to be running for the ward committeemanship in the 49th Ward. Joe Moore. How you doing?
How are you doing? Well, thanks for having me back.
First of all, it's my pleasure. I've only been in a limo once in my life. And actually... Alan Cranston, when he ran for president, wanted to get interviewed by my paper because he was very pro-Israel, and he actually had me picked up in a limo to go over to see him to interview him.
Wow.
So this...
Well, perhaps the audience should know why we're talking about limos. But,
sure.
Before we went on the air, I was telling you that I was invited to appear for an interview on MSNBC, and they sent a limo to my house to pick me up, take me to the studios. And so I thought, well, if MSNBC would do it, why won't you, Avi? When I come on Northtown News, come on. And so I've got a higher expectation now. So, maybe not a limo, maybe like a Ford Fiat or something.
We'll have to get something along those lines. And by the way, just to give you a frame of reference, we're basically talking the day after McCarthy got fired, and while all the conflagration is going on with the, with the case with Laquan McDonald, if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Correct.
So, but anyway, let's talk about the 49th Ward a little bit.
Sure.
So, I'm seeing tremendous expansion over there. There's no question about it.
We are continuing on our upward climb. We have been undergoing an amazing renaissance over the last 15 years, almost 20 years, actually. And it keeps getting better. We really have come out of the recession. We've got new businesses opening up across the ward. New developments taking place that clearly people want to move to Rogers Park, and they want to enjoy all the amenities that Rogers Park offers. And I've just been very, very proud of my community and by all the hardworking people in my community that have helped this renaissance come about. From the business development organizations, Rogers Park Business Alliance, the folks who work in CAPS and community policing. It's been a great team effort.
Yeah, no, there's some really... I will speak from the CAPS side because I'm one of them, but not from Rogers Park, but West Rogers Park. You got some really good people with CAPS in 49. And I should point out, too, you're one of the very original people in favor of CAPS in the city of Chicago.
That's right. And I know that this show is being videotaped and will be broadcast at a later time. So perhaps by the time the viewers see this, there will be a new police superintendent announced.
By the way, it's going to be 2 weeks from tomorrow. The show will actually be on the air.
Oh, okay. Well, then probably not. Yeah, it'll take longer to pick a new police superintendent.
Yeah, do you see it
I'll tell you, when you talked about community policing,
sure.
I was very impressed by Chuck Ramsey. He was assistant deputy in the police department in charge of implementing community policing back in the early 90s. He would make an excellent police superintendent. As you might recall, he ended up leaving Chicago when Daley inexplicably passed him over to appoint another officer to be, or commander to be a police superintendent. So he went off to Washington, D.C., did a great job there, and ended up being a police chief in Philadelphia, where he just retired and was extremely popular, but also, really changed the culture of the police department in Philadelphia. Fired a lot of officers, over 300, which is a large number given the size of the city of Philadelphia. I think he would make, he's from Chicago. He was on a Chicago Police Department, but he left so he wouldn't be, he's been away for close to 20 years. Having him come back would be a great thing.
With a fresh set of eyes.
With a fresh set of eyes, exactly.
Yeah. And you know what? He's actually the father of the community policing strategy, number one. Mm-hmm. Number two is he, of all the higher up, I am a Phil Klein fan too. I mean, I know there's been problems, but did a lot of right things, and the police department liked him a lot, the people within the department. Chuck Ramsey is my all-time favorite among the hierarchy. And not only that, we actually did have him on the show.
Did you really? Back in the early community policing days?
As a matter of fact, there was a neighborhood peace walk, or a vigil against the gangs or whatever. And it was in your neck of the woods. It was a park in 49.
Yeah.
And that's the same day we got Mayor Daley on, we got Chuck Ramsey on, we got a number of other people on. And he let me know that he watches my show on a regular basis. And I said, wow, I'm really impressed. And he said, yeah, I've always got to try to keep my eye out for subversives.
He was recently co-chair of the President's Commission on Policing. They came up with a report, I think it's entitled 21st Century, Policing in the 21st Century. And the report calls for taking community policing to the next level. Clearly as the events have unfolded in Chicago in recent weeks, we really need to recommit ourselves to community policing, because there is a lot of fractured trust between the police and certainly certain communities in the city of Chicago that desperately need to be repaired.
No question. But, the funny thing is that some people use the word community policing, but there's community policing, there's community policing. Having been a beat facilitator now since 1995, different superintendents have different ways of implementing things. Different commanders of districts have different ways of implementing everything. And I know budget is a major problem. But there was actually a point, to me, the ideal point in time was when you had one officer from all three beats at the community policing meetings. I think that cost $500,000 in overtime citywide over the year. And you had, and no offense, Sergeant Sixtet, you're a great guy. Each individual beat had a sergeant in charge, and that had one particular sergeant overly concentrate hard on the beat. Who it's just does. I'm not knocking you. I love you, and I'm glad you're in 24. One guy can concentrate more on one beat than one guy can on 9 beats. Mm-hmm. That's just the nature of the beast. And I know it's not going to go back that way, because I don't know what the expenses are involved. So make just the big community policing sergeant.
My view is we can't not afford to do it. We can't afford not to do it. You know what I'm trying to say,
right?
Money shouldn't be an object, because it's policing is so important, and getting it right is so important, and developing a real trust between the police and the community is so important to effective policing, that we really should not spare any expense to make community policing work right.
The fact is, when you had one person from each of the 3 shifts, which means the 24 hours a day, whatever incident one of the neighbors came in to talk about, somebody who was actually there for it was likely to be in that room, who could tell you intelligently what was going on. And not only that too, but the feedback back from the community told police what they had to watch for. And it's so much easier when you get it firsthand, as opposed to the sergeant hears everything, he writes everything down, and once again, it's like, this is no knock on anybody. I'm just talking about when you hear things firsthand and when you communicate firsthand, the information gets passed along better, it gets passed along truer, and you have a better understanding for what it is you have to do along those lines.
Yep.
And it makes a difference. And there are people who are hardened, TAC officers who are in community policing who will tell you that they can actually accomplish more in getting people off the street through the community policing office than they can on the street as a TAC officer.
Agreed. You're absolutely right.
So
that's what we need to return to. We've fallen too far away from that. It works pretty well in 24, but I know in a lot of parts of the city, it's non-existent, really.
You've got a great crowd in 24, number one.
Yeah.
And also I have to say that Bruce Ratner was the right guy.
We've been very blessed. That's one of the reasons, in a way, I was kind of sorry to see McCarthy go. I understand that really the mayor had no choice. But in terms of the 24th district, he really took care of us. He gave us some of the best police commanders we've had in the 25 years that I've been an alderman, and that's saying a lot because we've had some very good police commanders.
No, that's true,
and he was always very, very responsive to any concerns I had.
No, I have to say that even though I didn't like the idea of an outsider coming in originally, the truth of the matter is that I don't think he's actually to blame for what went on, but you needed a public figure to go, and he got chosen.
And the problem was that he clearly, rightly or wrongly, had lost the confidence and trust of most of the communities of color. The African American, Hispanic
that's true,
communities.
And that's big.
And you need to have someone at the helm of the police department who has that trust and confidence of the leaders. And unfortunately, because of circumstances, he lost that. So that's why I think, as sad as as it is, I think the mayor had no choice but to let him go.
One thing I will say for Rob, and people know I don't say that many things for him, he actually did have Ramsey involved in the hiring process before he hired McCarthy.
Well, he actually wanted.
He made him an offer.
Ramsey was his first choice, and I thought that would have been an excellent choice. But unfortunately, there are some issues involving, as I understand it, involving Chuck Ramsey's pension and issues that they couldn't get that stuff resolved, and so
I heard that he wanted $350,000 a year.
Just today, meaning today, the day we're taping. I read a newspaper account where Ramsey denies that was the case. It was not he would have worked for the same salary that McCarthy got, which is a pretty substantial salary.
Right.
But there was some issues involving his pension that couldn't get resolved, and I'm not sure exactly what those are.
By the way, actually, I owe McCarthy a minor debt. I got rousted by a port terminal authority guy at the Newark airport, and he wanted to know where I was from. I said Chicago. His first question to me is, "Who's the police commissioner of Chicago?" And I said, "I happen to be in community policing, and he's McCarthy, who's from here." And it was the right answer, and the guy started smiling.
Were you trying to smuggle something, or what did you get in trouble for?
It's so weird. You know what? I had never been in the Newark airport before. These guys had patches, and I wanted to know what the patch said. So I was staring at the guy's shoulder, and I don't know if the guy had a bad day or he didn't like my face or what it was, but that's all it was. In any event, we're about out of time, so I'm sure even though he's running
thanks for sharing that incident with us.
Sorry about that. Well, you're invited back, and you'll be on early and often anyway, as they say in Chicago. Running on a post for Committeeman in 49, so vote for his appointment. No, just kidding. And if people would like to contact your office?
They can contact my office through my website, ward49.com, or my email at ward49@cityofchicago.org.
I'll give you 20 seconds to plug something you wanted to plug that you left out.
My phone number, 773-338-5600. 5796. And I would encourage, here's what I want to plug, my electronic newsletter, because it's very important, I think, for people to get be informed. So sign up for my newsletter. Go to my website, ward49.com. You can sign up for it on the top of the homepage of my website.
Alderman Joe Moore, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you for joining us, everybody. Thank you, Sonny. Bye-bye, everybody.